if you get a piece of their gut, and that's injected into you, you develop antibodies against the gut, and that's.
Let me stop you, and I got to stop you. Everything you're saying is true, because Europe has been using dead babies.
Yes.
I mean, dead babies, grind them up to mix them, and they have stem cells all in them, which allows wild mutations. There are, genetic viruses encoded in the DNA. That's being given supervised. Again, all this they know will cause these mass plagues. And now when you hear stem cell, it's just a stem cell. No, it means dead babies. Dead babies is what they call stem cells, not just the small embryos. That's the seed of a baby, the big baby. Go ahead.
Yes, but my point is that you're developing antibodies against those babies' DNA or a monkey kidney or whatever else they're using to culture the virus.
Let me stop you again. 200 million Americans vaccinated at least in the first round of it with the simian virus 40 that they admittedly gives people cancer. Government admits it. That was just from monkey kidneys. Think about what happens with human and pig tissue. Go ahead.
Exactly, and that's what people have to realize. And I just want to say the good news is that I have developed a protocol that reverses these autoimmune diseases, seizures, and cancer with natural therapies, and you can learn about that on my website. Let me just say, if you're interested in finding out about it, please call me. Do not email me. I must say, since I was on your show last week, my email is out of control. So if you want to reach me, you need to call me. But that's the good news, folks. But you have to understand that this is certainly their agenda. And I also have a YouTube video up now. I got into C-SPAN last Saturday. They were asking callers if they are for the stem cell research. And, of course, I called in to ask, first of all, if the government's interested in our health, why are they trying to take away our supplements by Codex? And more importantly, why are they creating disease with vaccinations? Not to mention the fact is the government is now going to be telling us what treatment we're allowed to get under their socialized medicine. Do any of you think that if a stem cell study was able to reverse paralysis, say, that your average Joe is going to have access to that? Of course not.
Well, I mean, as you know, doctor, they've already come out with just many different cells, the skin cells, breast cells, all these other cells that work just as good or better, and they don't have the mutagen qualities of the hyperactive fetal stem cells, but they don't care. Don't you want to cure disease? All they do is shell all the real treatments.
Of course, they're creating disease. Vaccine-induced diseases is the biggest epidemic the world has ever known. It's not just in people, it's in pets. And Alex, I'm sure you're probably also aware, they're vaccinating every food source animal you can imagine. I used to say as a joke when I would give my lectures, if you had a sick fish and it was in a fishbowl that was dirty, would you vaccinate the fish or would you clean the water? Well, guess what, Alex? They're now vaccinating farm-raised fish. They're vaccinating everything you're putting into your mouth. If you're a chicken wing fan, folks, guess what? That's where they're injecting the vaccines into the chicken, is in their wings.
And let me expand. I meant to get to this 2 weeks ago when it first broke. Major university studies with the veterinarians. Oh, let's talk about that when we come back, because I know you know about that. We didn't have time to cover that last week. They're finding massive increases of cancer in the injection site on dogs and cats. And everybody I know that won't listen to me goes and vaccinates their dog and it has seizures or their cat dies. This didn't used to happen. What's in the vaccines for dogs and cats that's killing them and hurting them? I know I'm all over the map here and interrupting her. Everything she's saying is totally documented. We're totally screwed. I don't know what we're going to do, but the real threat, according to the police, is Ron Paul. So, folks, I want you to understand something. I believe everything I've said here, and I've researched it and documented it for myself, and I'm not a medical doctor like Dr. Carley. But I've had countless medical doctors and virologists on here telling you the same thing. They'll freak out and yell and scream about some nut killing 10 people, and that's a tragedy, but there's vaccine deaths constantly. And they'll have a debate about autism and mercury, and that's a small part of it. It's the autoimmune swelling that's the main cause, according to all their own studies. You just never see it in the mainline news, or you see a blurb about it, then you've got to go to the study itself. I am fighting as hard as I can, and I am looking at farms an hour or two away. I'm going to do the TV show here, but it's getting so crazy, and I can feel they're moving towards it. And I feel all the analysis together, and then the subconscious mind integrates that into an overlay of projection of the future as best we can. We all have that ability, the great brain God gave us. But my children are also most important to me. That's why I take the risk and do the things I'm doing, because the risk of doing nothing is much greater. And I know I'm saying it's totally safe to run to the hills, because if we do that, they're all going to win. But people should have some backup. My God, it's just so horrible. Dr. Carley, please continue with what's happening to the animals in the vaccines.
Well, let me just also mention, yes, the children are our most valuable asset, and that's why the medical mafia has actually taken my only child away from me. I have been persecuted more than any other medical doctor that speaks about vaccines, because I go to the genocidal level, and that's why I'm so honored that you're having me on your show. But yes, in fact, if you go to my website, drcarley.com, within the article Science of Vaccine Damage, a researcher, Gary Smith, actually explains what cancer is. It's a wound that never heals, because what happens is that the inflammation that occurs is actually not the body trying to fight the infection. It's the virus or bacteria deliberately causing inflammation to hide that virus and bacteria, which can mutate and cause cancer from the immune system. Then we also have the aluminum in the vaccine, which mutates the P53 oncogene, which is actually supposed to suppress the formation of tumors. So now you have the aluminum in there actually causing the tumors to go into hyperdrive. We have carcinogens like formaldehyde in vaccines that are actually cancer-causing agents, and they're injecting that into people as well. And let's not forget to mention the Special Virus Cancer Project. I have multiple years of documents of this in my progress report number 9 here before me, published in 1982. They're actually doing research, such as the Southwest Foundation for Research and Education, a branch of the NIH, studying latent virus infection and transmission. They're studying how to activate these viruses with pesticides and other things. I mean, it's just unbelievable when you read the documents, just like the Nazis basically telling us what they're doing. We have another one by the Bionetics Research Laboratories, investigations of viral carcinogenesis in primates. They want to figure out what actually activates carcinogenesis. And as I explain in my paper, Inoculations of True Weapons of Mass Destruction, when you're injecting all these viruses into a person or a pet, of course, that's a total distraction for the immune system. The T cells, which I describe as the little Pac-Man cells, whose job it is to go around and gobble up cancer cells, they're totally paralyzed, because the B cell arm is so busy creating antibodies. So there's many different factors involved in forming cancer. On my website, I actually have an MP3 file of a show I did on cancer, which people can listen to, that explains the various aspects. But this is so huge. And as we see cancer increasing and increasing, we have, the Susan G. Komen marching, having people march around to raise millions of dollars for research to find a cure. How about if we get rid of the cause, folks? How about if we stop these inoculations, which are the true weapons of mass destruction?
I know that they came and took your medical license. You fought them and got it back.
Actually, I didn't fight them. What they wanted me to do, and let me just say, when I was a surgeon, I never had a single complaint against me even then. So what they did was, I was on public access TV in Long Island, and I did a show about the pedophiles in the high layers of government. They used that to bring a charge against me that I have a delusion of conspiracy. And even though 10 psychologists and psychiatrists examined me and found that I was fine, they found their whore from France, this Zev Labens, who said, not only do I have a delusion, but it was so dangerous that in order to practice medicine, I would have to undergo psychiatric treatment, electroshock therapy, or institutionalization. So that's when I told them they can keep their license. I'm a teacher now. I've totally taken myself out from under their auspice.
No, I know, but I read that you'd successfully beaten them. I guess that was wrong. But I mean, specifically, though, so much of what you're saying is in the mainline literature, and now they're saying it's mentally ill to believe in a new world order.
Yes.
And they're saying people need to be grabbed. And, they arrested Ezra Pound, the Pulitzer Prize winner, because he said the Federal Reserve was private, and put him in a mental institution. So people go to mental institutions, folks, for saying the Federal Reserve is private now. Well,
this is a very important thing that I want to make the listeners realize. They're actually committing genocide, murder by medicine in hospitals now. We all know the Medicare Trust Fund is gone, and actually that's been a fact for many years. So what they're doing with older people in the hospital is they're taking them out. They're giving them morphine to stop their breathing, mismatched blood transfusions. I've actually been involved with many cases as a patient advocate in cases like that. And people are complaining about the bad doctors. What you need to do, folks, is stand with the good doctors. Every single doctor who tells the truth, especially at very extreme levels, as I do, they go after their medical license. And this is what people have to realize. There's not going to be any doctors that actually are able to help you. As a matter of fact, with this national health care plan they have planned for us, they're actually going to have governmental clinical guidelines. So what we're getting to is a place where you don't even need a medical doctor. You could have a computer sitting in front of you.
And by the way, let me stop you. My dad's a dentist and oral surgeon. He said even before they passed this federal takeover of medicine,